Welcome to I Have the Power, a He-Man vidcast. From the secrets within Castle Grayskull to the horrors atop Snake Mountain, we cover everything Masters of the Universe, including action figures, animation, live-action film, and comics. With your hosts, Adam and Chris.
Welcome to another episode of I Have the Power, a He-Man and the Masters of the Universe cast and vidcast. As always, I'm your host, Adam, not the prince that's featured in the thing we're talking about tonight, because, I wasn't born of royalty, but hey, I like to... The reason I'm a fan is because, part of the reason is because we had the same name. Yes, as shallow as that is, that was a big driving force.
But hey, that's one of the reasons Christopher Reeve was my favorite actor when I was a kid.
There you go. And with me, I guess, is my co-host, who would be... I'm not going to ride around on you, but the cringer, the battle cat of this show, I won't call him Cringer, that's the afraid version. The battle cat of this show, Chris. Chris, how's it going?
I'm doing very well, Adam. Happy to join you once again to have a fun talk about a Christmas-themed Masters of the Universe special, and I'm excited. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, and I'm just imagining that if I had the sword that He-Man had, I'd be pointing it at you right now just for fun, but sadly, they made a replica of that, and it's way too expensive for my wallet, so I'm just going to have to admire it from pictures, because, God forbid, they make it affordable, unlike the Dragon Dagger that I have over there from the Power Rangers universe. If they made it that price, I could have afforded it. But Mattel decided we're going to gouge people's wallet, and so unfortunately I have to bow out of that. But anyway, I'd like one nonetheless. So if anybody wants to send me a gift and has money to spare, by all means, I'll take it.
Tis the season.
It is, and yes, I am excited to talk about the He-Man and She-Ra Christmas special from way back when you and I were little wee toddlers running around the Christmas tree. But before that, as we always do on our shows, Chris, when there's news regarding the property we're discussing, we talk about it. Unfortunately, the news we're not going to talk about, the news that we're going to talk about doesn't involve the Netflix movie because there's no update on that yet. Supposedly, we're going to get one in 2023, an update that is. Let's cross our fingers. The update also does not involve the She-Ra and the Princess of Power live-action series that is in development at Amazon. When we have that, hopefully in 2023, an update on that, we will bring that to you as well. Again, the update isn't on Masters of the Universe Revolution. That's coming. It's in the works. It's being worked on. We know that. We know William Shatner's in it. Who he's playing, God knows. Well, Kevin Smith knows. We don't. When we know and when we have more news, we'll discuss that with you. But luckily, He-Man as a property exists not only, hopefully, in live action, not only in animation, but also in comic books. And that's what we're going to discuss today. So, Chris, we have a new comic to look forward to from Dark Horse. We have a solicitation for the book, the first issue that's going to be out in February. So go ahead and if you will, please read us the description.
Yeah, so this is a new 4-issue miniseries coming that is supposed to take place in the universe of Masters of the Universe Revelations. But here is the synopsis. In the depths of Castle Grayskull, the sorceress and Zodak debate the value of He-Man. To save the life of her champion, the sorceress must take the Cosmic Enforcer on a tour of the multiverse. First, a tour across a world where a dim, barbaric He-Man bumbles through a world of annoying warrior goddesses and bored demons as he's pursued by a hungry green tiger and a tale drawn by the legendary Sergio Aragones. Then, a stop in an Eternia where the power of Grayskull summons an entirely different warrior in a horrific ghost story illustrated by Kelly Jones. Written by Masters of the Universe alumni Tim Seeley, with a framing story by Eddie Nunez, this is an anthology series not to be missed.
And we definitely won't miss it because we'll be getting it and we'll be covering it on this very show.
Yeah. I'm looking
Now,
forward to it.
and you know what? It's amazing that, my main, just before we talk about what the description you just gave, my physical pull list is, the ongoing stuff is all Batman and Superman related books. So right now I have Batman, Nightwing, Superman Action, and Batman Superman. That's my core 5. I've left allowances for two books when they come out. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Last Ronin related stuff, and anything Masters of the Universe related. So that's my pull list. So you can bet that when I send my list in for February, this book will be on it. Now, Chris, you read the description, and so what are your thoughts on what you're reading there? What stands out to you there?
Well, first thought is that Masters of the Universe is getting on the multiverse train, much like we have seen with Marvel and like we are expecting with DC in the upcoming Flash movie, and God knows what beyond that. But
James Gunn does. That's
well,
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's at least 2 people who know, and
Yeah.
when we know, we'll share that.
On the DC Comics Chronicles, indeed. Great. Thanks for the plug setup.
Sure. But it is a concept that is in the cultural zeitgeist right now, so it makes perfect sense to take advantage of that. I think I'm looking forward to seeing these other interpretations of He-Man, because it mentions a barbaric He-Man first of all, and then it mentions an entirely different warrior in a horrific ghost story. Which a ghost story in the Masters of the Universe realm, that's something we haven't really seen before. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that sounds like something really interesting.
It's very interesting. The fact that the first story goes back to the barbaric He-Man, I think it's appropriate because when the character was inspired, like when they came up with the idea for the character, it all came out. If I remember the documentary right, it all came about because they didn't have the rights to Conan, and they wanted a barbarian type of character. And then they were inspired by the art of Frank Frazetta, and so that's how He-Man came about. So when he was initially created, he was a barbarian, and you saw, even in Revelations, when they went to Preternia, we saw a barbaric He-Man in there with the helmet, with the horn kind of helmet thing. So that's cool, and he's going to be, I guess, chased by a prehistoric Cringer, which is going to be cool, or Battle Cat, I guess, whichever. But it's going to be cool to see that. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but isn't Kelly Jones the artist that draws Batman with the really, 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 really long ears? I'm pretty sure.
I'm not sure. I can't pull that image in my head right now. But let me check real quick.
I think he did the art. Remember when Batman?
I think you're right. I just did a quick search,
Yeah.
and I'm seeing some Kelly Jones Batman. Oh yeah, for sure. I know these stories.
I mean, I'm not specifically keen on the really long ears for Batman. I think Kelly Jones makes them. And again, I'm not insulting his art. He could draw 1,000 times better than I can because I can't draw. So there's that. But just I like those years are a little too long for my liking. But I mean, his art is still very very unique, and he's a talented individual, and so we'll see what he brings to the table. And you got to think that he just the mention of a sort of ghost story would sort of, to me, kind of immediately makes me think of Scareglow.
Sure. And more Scareglow is always a good thing.
I mean, I don't disagree. And then in terms of the main story, we could see the art on the cover because the cover is by the main guy, or the cover artist and the interior artist is the same. And on this particular cover, we have on the left side of the cover we have a He-Man that looks almost blow for blow the same as the Revelation He-Man. On the top
Yep.
left, on the top right we have.
And this is cover A. If anyone else out there is looking at it, there's multiple covers. This one is cover A.
Right. We also have on the top right we have the He-Man from He-Man and the Masters of the Universe series from Netflix, the animated series. Which I've watched that, and I understanding that it's a kids show, I dig it.
Right on.
So if you want to watch it with your kids, give it a shot. On the bottom left, we have the Barbarian He-Man, which we've been discussing. And then on the bottom right, we have Skeletor, Beastman, Evelyn, and Trapjaw, which also look like they're Revelation counterparts.
Yep.
So I dig this cover art. So chances are I'm gonna be fond of the interiors as well. I'm really looking forward to this, Chris. I'm happy that there's a He-Man book back in publication. The only thing I wish was that it was an ongoing.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, if it's a tie-in with the Netflix series, then it makes sense for it to be a limited run. But maybe after the next season of the Netflix series, they'll have another tie-in to go along with it because we had the prequel already. So I'm just happy that we are getting more content in this realm, and hopefully it's a trend that continues.
I absolutely couldn't agree more. So, we have a lot to look forward to. In 2023, we'll be covering this book extensively here at the network. So we hope you, our viewers and listeners, will be joining us for our discussions regarding this book. But be here for a review of issue 1 at some point in February or March, depending on when the particular episode is scheduled. But yeah, we will make a point of scheduling an episode sometime shortly thereafter, the each issue's release date. That's for sure. So stay tuned. And if you want to give the gift of a comic book to one of your friends or relatives, you can always, I believe you can give them a gift card to Comixology or Amazon, at least in the States. I don't know if that option is available for the Canadian viewers, but you can't buy them the issue for Christmas because it's not going to be out for Christmas, but you can certainly get them a gift card, and you could introduce them into the world of Masters of the Universe, or
go to your local comic shop and start a pull list and tell them to put it on it.
Yeah. Oh, and then if you really want something Masters of the Universe related for Christmas, there's a plethora of action figures in the Masterverse line. I own a few of them, and I'm sure long-time He-Man fans would love an addition, or new fans that just discovered one of the Netflix shows would like an addition. So there's a Christmas idea for you. So that's all the news we have for you this time around. But what we'll do now is we'll take a quick break, and we will transition on the other side of the break to discussing the He-Man and She-Ra holiday special. So stay tuned. We will be right back.
What's up, everyone? It's the Emerald Enthusiast. For all of your multiverse viewing and listening needs, check out our shows, which include Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters, Power Rangers, the Marvel Universe, and the DC Universe, including the Emerald Echo podcast. You can check us out on Podbean, and remember to subscribe right here on YouTube. That's the Multiverse Musings Podcast Network. From the first podcast to the last.
And we're back. And as promised, we are getting in the Christmas spirit with the first time Christmas was brought to Eternia. And with that, we are going to be reviewing the He-Man and She-Ra Christmas special. So, Chris, give us some background details and info on this particular special.
This special aired in 1985. I believe it was the first prime time
Special.
He-Man and the Masters of the Universe special. I remember having it on a really worn out VHS tape when I was a kid. This special, let me see here. Directed by Bill Reed and Ernie Schmidt, and written by Don Heckman and Bob Forward, with the cast that you know from the original He-Man of the Masters of the Universe and She-Ra, Princess of Power animated series.
Yeah. I don't recall when I first saw this special. I know it wasn't when it first aired because I was 2. I mean, maybe it was on, but I don't vividly recall watching it. I remember watching it later because I was a couple of years older. But so I don't remember exactly the first time I watched it. But yeah, no, it like I said, I love a good Christmas special, and the fact that this was one of the animated series that I remember watching, often. And I don't want to say all the toys, but I had a lot of the figures. So when I did see this the first time, it was a special time, and revisiting it, I still had a lot of fun with it. It takes you back to, I think, a golden era of animation.
I had a lot of fun with it too. I really enjoyed watching this.
Yeah. It did get you. It did put me in the mood for Christmas. I gotta say. So, take us through what's going on in this special episode, Chris.
Okay, so everyone is gathered at the palace to celebrate the birthday of the twins, Adam and Adora. 2 people who are not at the palace are Prince Adam and Man-at-Arms. They're working on a rocket called the Sky Spy that they're going to send up in the air to spy on Skeletor and all his evil doings and stuff.
Right.
Of course, Orko gets himself into trouble, as he is always known to do, and gets into the cockpit of the shuttle and causes it to take off. Through some twists and turns, Orko ends up on Earth, where he is greeted by 2 Earth children, Alicia and Miguel, who are bringing a Christmas tree back home to their family to celebrate Christmas. Man-at-Arms is able to lock on to the location of Orko and the rocket using what is called a water crystal that he retrieves from Etheria, which is She-Ra's planet. and is able and brings Orko back to Eternia. But coming with Orko are the two children. Now they're stranded on Eternia and trying to get back home for Christmas. Now, Hordak and Skeletor are both trying to capture these children and take them to Horde Prime for a reward. But of course, He-Man and She-Ra are able to save the day and rescue the children and get them sent back home for Christmas in time to celebrate with their family.
Yeah, it's a really good description, and of course, Orko, being Orko, would create a little bit of a disaster, so to speak. It's funny when Prince Adam and Man at Arms are kind of discussing the spy. What was it called again?
Sky Spy.
Sky Spy, yeah. I'm like, so in modern day, that's a satellite. But
Pretty
yeah,
much.
yeah, and before that though, there was a moment at the beginning where the king and queen were talking, and of course she is human. She's from Earth, remember? So when she sees all the decorations, she's like, "Oh, this reminds me of Christmas." And then the King Randor is like, "What's that?" Right? And so, but it's like the funny thing that I noticed was, isn't it convenient that the decorations for the twins' party are essentially Christmas decorations?
Right. Well, that's what Marlena says. She's looking at all the people putting up the decorations, and she says, "Oh, this reminds me of Christmas."
Yeah.
And like, is this the first time you've ever thought that in the however many years that you've been on this planet and have been celebrating the birthday of your twins?
Well, I'm guessing this is the first time they've had the birthday because they're together, right? Whereas before they weren't. So that's the only reason I'd be like, I guess she would have never noticed the decorations before, because they were separated for for so long. But it's still the fact that the decorations look exactly like Christmas. It's like, well, yeah. I mean, none of them said "Happy Birthday" on it. It was garland everywhere and it's
bells.
Like, yeah. So that was kind of funny, but and then when Orko kind of crash lands, he sees the kids are in some bit of distress.
Yep.
And so he does that spell to sort of keep them out of trouble, because there was a point where it looked like
an avalanche was going to fall on them.
Right, yeah. And I'm like, well, at least, see, 9 times out of 10 on the original series, Orko was shown much like he was shown at the beginning, where he gets himself into trouble. But here, I thought he showed him as a very capable, like, he was able to keep the kids safe, which is, a glowing endorsement for him, because usually we don't see him in that kind of a light. So I kind of dug that. I'm like, oh, okay, they're making Orko. I mean, he's still aloof and he's still careless at times, but when he had to protect the kids, he was able to.
Yeah, he was they showed him to be a competent caregiver.
Yeah. What did you make of him being so flippant in regard to, oh yeah, come and see my spaceship? Like, again, it's a kids show, so you kind of have to put like check your well, what about this and what would this cause at the door? But it's like I'm presuming that this is the kids' first or Earthlings' first contact with a space vessel and Eternians. So it's like, would you want to be a little bit more discreet about things?
Well, you're right about that. I think you probably would want to be a little bit more discreet about things. But B, these kids aren't taken aback by Orko at all.
Yeah.
This guy has no legs. He's floating above the ground. He has no face, and he just casts a magic spell that protected you and that you saw work as like real magic. And none of this is setting off red flags for you. You're not like running for your parents trying to tell them what's going on.
Right. Right.
No, they're just right along for the ride.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. It's commonplace. So that was kind of interesting, and but again, I guess I mean, what the kids ultimately see, right? Because they He-Man and Adora, they look human, so that's not really going to phase them, right? I mean, Skeletors should scare the crap out of them.
Not only does Skeletor not scare the crap out of him, but they actually get Skeletor to feel a bit of the Christmas spirit.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that in a bit. Let's not jump there just yet because
Okay.
that was quite entertaining. But so Oracle is off on Earth, and he's learning about the meaning of Christmas from these kids. The kids are taught. At some point, the kids tell them the nativity story, and that's all being dealt with off screen.
It is off screen. I'm glad you mentioned that because when they first sit down to teach them about it, they say, well, a long time ago, and then it morphs into the next scene. So you know the story that he's telling, but they don't actually get into the religious aspects of Christmas in this special. They get into the giving and love and peace and goodwill and all that, but the religious stuff is handled off screen.
Which makes sense because you don't want to alienate somebody that doesn't prescribe to that belief, right? So I get it. And plus, are you really going to waste 5 or 10 minutes of a 44-minute special telling a story that everybody and their mother knows? Like come on. Through tracking abilities, Man-at-Arms, Prince Adam, and everybody involved are able to find the location of Oracle, and they realize that they can create a portal, so to speak, to get him back. But they need this specific diamond, I think it is, or rock.
I think they called it a water crystal.
Water, right. And so this is where a lot of the She-Ra portion of the show comes from, because she now has to go to Etheria in a specific, I think it's a specific lake that she has, where this crystal is located, and one of her core cast members actually helps her find it. And it's like when they were first talking about retrieving this crystal, you're like, oh, okay, She-Ra and He-Man are going to go together, but she tells him to stay back because if something happens to her, they're going to need him, right? So it's funny because each character got a little bit, they're largely together, and the bulk of the third act fight happens with them together, but they each get a few minutes of time to shine by themselves, which I think
She-Ra doesn't feel like an ancillary character here. She doesn't feel like He-Man's sister. Like she's her own character, and they give her agency, and she is able to push the story forward through her actions. So I really liked that.
And the other thing that I think is important to note is that everybody is unaware, at least most of the people involved in the scenes, that She-Ra and He-Man are Prince Adam and Adora. Like they have to kind of make, there's one part where, I don't know who says it, if it's Man at Arms or maybe it's Marlena, and she's like, can you get word to She-Ra? And she's like, oh yeah, I think that could be arranged. So the secret identities of our heroes are remain intact. So they're able to coordinate with Orko, bring him back, but he brings the kids back because he doesn't want to leave the kids by themselves.
And Queen Marlena tells the kids that they'll combine the twins' birthday with Christmas and have a big party and celebrate both.
Right, just in case the kids don't get home in time for Christmas and things of that nature. The interesting thing that I noted in this particular special is that aside from a couple scenes where you see him lying on the floor, we don't get much Cringer Battle Cat here.
Nope. He's in the opening shot. You're right, of him just kind of like laying on the floor, chilling while everyone is going about their business, decorating and stuff. And then you see him again at the very end, which, it's interesting that in a He-Man and She-Ra special that She-Ra's animal, Swiftwind, gets a lot more play than Cringer / Battle Cat does. I mean, we don't even see Battle Cat. He doesn't even transform.
Pegasus, I guess it would be called. What's that? It's not a unicorn.
Yeah, I think you're right. A flying horse with wings.
Yeah. That talks.
It does talk, and it has a very deep masculine voice.
I forgot that it talked.
But I mean, Cringer talks, so that makes sense.
Yeah,
right?
I know. But for whatever reason, like I obviously Cringer talked, but for whatever reason, when the sound came out, I'm like, oh, okay, this talks, cool.
Well, it was a very deep masculine voice, which I wasn't expecting.
Right, because it's got pink hair or pink ornaments on its armor and all that jazz. So it's like, but hey, I mean that's cool. That's It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to have a girl's voice just because, quote unquote, back in the old days, She-Ra's for girls. It was the way it was. The way things were framed. It doesn't have to be that way. Plus, for all the young boys out there, She-Ra's kind of hot. So watch She-Ra. Nothing wrong with that. And maybe one day, if you have an animated multiverse list, She-Ra will end up on your list too. And I want to click the pen because Christmas is no different, damn it. Okay, I still got to do the pen. Anyway, so the kids, while everybody, it's great that the kids are the entry point to bringing Christmas to Eternia. But the kids being there also pose a disturbance in the realm, or as was described. And so the leader of the horde is not happy that there is happiness and joy, or an influx of happiness and joy in the realm. Like it can't have none of that.
Yep.
So to figure all this out and get rid of that, I'm gonna team up Hordak and Skeletor, and they gotta find where this joy is coming from, and this excess joy, and eradicate it. They get rid of it. And when Skeletor and Hordak get their marching orders. That was some of the most hilarious stuff in this special because right off the bat they're arguing about who's gonna be the one that captures the,
Right.
And it's like, well, how are you guys gonna work together? You can't even. I mean, you haven't even started yet, and you're already bickering.
They spend basically the whole episode just sabotaging each other and trying to get the credit for themselves.
Yeah, yeah, which is pretty funny. And so the kids do get taken by in the fight, which involves Hordak and Skeletor versus each other and versus He-Man and She-Ra. The kids are captured. And Skeletor gets the upper hand, actually. And is taking them, to the Horde leader. Right? I can't remember his name. What was his name? The Master?
Horde Prime.
Horde Prime, that's it. Yeah. So they're taking him to Horde Prime, and all of a sudden the kids complain about being cold. And at first Skeletor's like, I don't care, move it along.
He's being such a dick.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man, they're 5, they're 4 or 5, give him a break. And then, but he starts to have, he's like, fine, here, you have some coats, and he uses his magic to manufacture coats for these kids. Take that, Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger and all you people.
And they're immediately like, "Thank you, Mr. Skeletor.
You're so nice," and he gets so offended. Like when they say you're so nice, he gets so offended. He's like, "Don't you dare use that word ever again in my presence." So they're walking along, and the dog that's with them gets stuck in the snow.
Skeletor's like, "Leave him."
Yeah, and then the little girl's like, "Pretty please, he's gonna freeze to death out here or whatever." And Skeletor's like, "Fine," and he's like, "I don't know what's going on, but these kids are making me feel joy." And he goes, "I don't like it one bit," which made me laugh.
This was my favorite part of the episode.
So he picks up the dog, right, or the alien dog. It's not a human dog. It's
a Manchine dog.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, right. And so he picks it up, and the way he handles it, because he grabs it like by the scruff of its skin, but then he cradles it, which is weird because you grab it kind of forcefully, as a villain would, but then you see him cradling it. Well, and just the imagery alone, because just to set this up for the people that hasn't watched it, this thing looks like the Grinch's dog. It's very much. It looks like that. So for a good chunk of the episode, you have Skeletor cradling this freaking dog, and he's walking with it, and the dog is licking Skeletor's skeletal face, and Skeletor's like, "Get off me!" and he's yelling at this dog, but he's also kind of enjoying the being, cuddling and taking care of this dog, and he's like, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm feeling good, and he's like, it's like I don't like it, right? So then, when they're trying to appeal to Skeletor's quote unquote good nature, they're like, "But it's Christmas," and he's like, "What is this Christmas?" And he's like, "Well, it's a holiday where everybody's nice and celebrate joy and positivity." And he's like, "This doesn't sound fun at all."
No, they say what you said, but they also say and everyone has fun. And he's like, "What? Like you fight?" And they're like, "No, you do this and this and this, and it's fun." He's like, "Well, that doesn't sound like fun to me. Where's the fighting?"
Yeah, he's like, "Fighting is fun," and then they're like, "Yeah, but there's presents," and he's like, "Oh, do these presents explode?"
you open it and there's an explosion, and they're like, no.
I'm telling you, the whole segment with Skeletor had me rolling, and a lot of it is the voice from Alan Oppenheimer, because
Yeah.
you're hearing it, but there's compassion coming out of it, which, if you've ever watched the show previous to this, that's something you never hear or see from Skeletor. So it's weird. From this evil looking monster kind of creature comes this compassion in that menacing voice. It's an odd dichotomy. And then they run into this inevitable abominable snowman kind of creature.
Yeah, the snow beast.
Yeah. And again, you have Skeletor, stay behind me. And so it's like, just watching this, it does take you aback, because you're not used to this from Skeletor. I mean, he's not even nice to Evelyn, so it's not like
Right.
It's not like there's a precedent of, well, I mean, I
He's
guess
a jerk to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, if he could look in the mirror, in a mirror, and call himself a dumb boob, I'm sure he probably would at some point. You know, so he causes a crack in the ice. The
Snow
snow
beast
beast
takes
falls
a
through.
tumble.
Yeah. So he protects them. Then the horde, Hordak attacks, and He-Man and She-Ra arrive, and there's a battle that ensues, and there's a lot of lifting heavy things and throwing heavy things at Hordak's weaponry and stuff like that. And at this point, when Hordak had attacked, the first thing he did was knock out Skeletor. So Skeletor's on the ground, unconscious. The dog is licking away as trying to wake him up. So He-Man and She-Ra are doing all these things. They're preoccupied. And there was a moment where Hordak was going to go after the kids, and the dog's licking Skeletor's face, and he's like, what? And he's like, he comes to it, and he's like, I don't know why, but I have this overwhelming desire to save that I need to save these kids. So he gets up and he uses the staff to blast Hordak. And He-Man and She-Ra are done fighting the underlings, the machinery of Hordak, robots. Kind of felt like an episode of He-Man mixed with Battlestar Galactica and the Cylons, the robots that were fighting. And so they're done. They're fighting, and the kids are like, oh. They reconvene with the kids, and they're like, oh yeah, Skeletor saved us. And He-Man's like, he saved you? Like, really? And he's even Skeletor even tells He-Man, he's like, there's something wrong with me, because I think I'm feeling sick. And he's like, no, what you're feeling is, you're feeling like you want to do good. And he's like, I don't like it one bit. And then She-Ra and He-Man are like, don't worry, Christmas only comes around once a year. And he's like, thank God. And very much, Skeletor's role in this very much paralleled the Grinch Who Stole Christmas.
Yeah.
Like, it was very much in the vein of that, which is, I mean, I like the Grinch, and so, adding a little bit of Skeletor to him, or adding a little bit of Grinch to Skeletor, and Grinch motifs, I dug it. Can you imagine going from this Christmas special back to a regular episode of the show? Like, if 2 weeks later we're back to Skeletor calling Beastman an idiot and Merman a boob and this and that and everything. I mean, what a transition! It's like, and you know what though? As sad as this is to say, it kind of mirrors real life because there's that period of time for about 2-3 weeks where everybody is a little bit nicer and a little bit happier, and then the holidays are over and everybody goes back to their usual modes of behavior. Um, so it kind of mirrors. Um, it kind of mirrors, I guess, reality in that sense. So near the end of the Christmas special, they're preparing to use the teleportation to send the kids back to Earth. But before they do, He-Man is dressed in Santa Claus garb. And what's funny is too that I forgot to mention is that prior to the episode, the kids are explaining to everybody what and who Santa Claus is. The first one they explain to is Orko when they're on Earth. Then when they get to Eternia, they're explaining it to Prince Adam and everybody else. And when they're explaining it to Prince Adam, King Randor and everybody, Orko's like, "What? You guys don't know who Santa Claus is? Everybody knows who Santa." It's like
Right.
10 minutes ago, you had no idea. But so they send the kids off, and Adora makes a comment that she knew that it was He-Man under the Santa costume. Then the kids get transported back to Earth, and
their parents are so funny.
They have these flight belts on them that they were given, and the kids are telling the story that
we were on another planet,
and the parents are like, "Sure, we're just glad you're home. It's time for bed." And they're like, "Oh, okay." And so they start flying to the bedroom. They're like, "Merry Christmas, good night, and Merry Christmas." And the parents, the shocked look on the parents' face was pretty funny. Again, giving these kids that tech, I'm assuming a lot of adults are going to see that tech. My question is, again, being a 39-year-old adult watching this, I'm thinking, I'm sure unless you order your kids to keep these belts at home, other adults are going to see this. Aren't they going to question where this technology came from? Because presumably it doesn't exist on Earth yet.
For sure. But when I was 4 years,
when you're 5 or 6,
1985, and this came out, I was just like, "Ooh, I want a flight belt."
I mean, yeah. Who doesn't, right? So that was pretty cool, though. And then at the end, of course, after Orko and the main cast, basically wish everybody a Merry Christmas. We still get the lesson of the day, and it's once again He-Man and Orko going over the values of Christmas, right? Kindness, giving, things of that nature, and so on. They kept that lesson of the day kind of feature for this special, which was, I mean, it would be weird if it wasn't there.
Yeah, you come to expect that at the end of an episode.
It's like a Marvel post-credit scene kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, but yeah, overall, any other thoughts you wanna get that we didn't bring up maybe before we get to the final thoughts on the ranking?
No thoughts that we haven't covered. I encourage anyone who hasn't seen this, if you're a He-Man fan at all, or if you're just a Christmas fan, give this one a look. It's available on Amazon. I saw earlier today. I have the DVD someone gave to me years ago.
It's on YouTube as well.
Yeah. Okay. So it's
And
out there.
it's there
Go.
free on the official Masters of the Universe channel. So it's not like I use nefarious means to watch it. I mean, it's right there. So yeah, I think for me, the main takeaway is that at the end of the day, the balance of this being I thought the balance was on point between this being a He-Man and She-Ra team-up episode, but also being a Christmas special. Like it wasn't just all, hey, we're gonna sit around the castle, right, or the palace, and have a Christmas meal and tell stories. I mean, there was still He-Man and She-Ra having to come together and battle their two main nemesis, which is what you want from a team up on a regular day. But then to mix the Christmas stuff and do it in a way that feels natural, like this didn't feel forced.
Right.
You felt
it and it would have been really easy to make it feel forced because you're talking about an Earth holiday, an Earth tradition that you're trying to incorporate into the planets of Eternia and Etheria in the Masters of the Universe universe, for lack of a better word.
it's almost like remember when Smallville or Lois and Clark, whatever Christmas episode, like it was essentially this particular episode had nothing to do with the main story. It was just we need to tell a Christmas episode. Whereas this felt like it could have been, and it probably was structured that way, I'm not sure, but it could have been another episode chronicling the adventures of She-Ra and He-Man versus Skeletor and the Horde. But it also happened to be around Christmas time. Like it's like you and me go about our daily routine. You know, our day to day pretty much throughout the month of December, leading up to Christmas, stays relatively the same. We still have to go through all our regular things, and Christmas just so happens to be a part of the equation. And that's what this felt like with this special. It's just like they were going about their days, and hey, along the way, Christmas happened. So I liked the balance between He-Man and She-Ra action and Christmas. The other thing I liked as well is the balance of He-Man and She-Ra and managing to give them both the spotlight. So it doesn't feel like one is being used to prop up the other. They're both equal. They both get their time to show off and shine. So I really like the way that was handled. Because if this was an episode of Supergirl, you know, She-Ra would have been saying how much better she is than, or the writing would have been alluding to how much better she is than He-Man, which is not the way. To me, if you're going to have a team up, you want to make both your parties that are involved feel powerful and equal and both valuable to the story, right? And I think this episode did that. So, what are your overall thoughts, and then we'll give it a final grade.
I mean, I agree with a lot of what you said. It was a very special episode that doesn't feel like it takes place outside of the mythology of the show. They figured out a way to work in Earth visitors, which is, I mean, in order to have a Christmas themed episode, you're going to have some connection to Earth in order to do it. Aside from just Marlena being from Earth and explaining it to everyone, because that doesn't really get you anywhere. You got to take people through a Christmas journey, much like the kids did with Skeletor, and have them feel something from it. So I think it was a good balance. I think the humor was well done and was more than you expect in a normal Masters of the Universe or She-Ra episode, and most of that humor, where Orko's usually Orko and Cringer are kind of like the humor foils. In this one, they used Skeletor for that effect, and it really worked a lot. I think it was really well done. So overall, I liked it a lot, and I can't wait to watch it with my kids next weekend when they're at my house, because they need to see this masterpiece of television history.
Absolutely. Now, so, what's your letter grade?
Oh, this gets an A for me, for sure.
Now, before I give my grade, have your kids seen? I think you said they saw. Did they see Revelation, or have they seen the original show? What's their?
They've seen a little bit of Revelation and they like it, but it was hard for them to get into it because they didn't know a lot of the backstory of the characters and stuff. And Revelation throws a lot of stuff at you. I tried to get them to watch the old series, and they couldn't really get into it. They're like, "Dad, this looks old. Like, why are we watching this old thing?" But for a Christmas special, I think I'll be able to get them on board.
Okay,
because a lot of Christmas specials look old. I mean, Rudolph looks old, Frosty looks old. They're all dated.
Right, sure. But for some reason, when it's a Christmas special, the kids are more, okay.
Yeah.
I would recommend letting your kids see the other He-Man first. The He-Man, the new one, the 3D.
He-Man and the Masters of the Universe?
Yeah. I think you'll be able to sell them on that animation.
Cool.
So for me, it's an A as well. I mean, you watch this and it takes you back to being a kid. While kids today may think that animation looks old, I think that's better than 3/4 of some of the stuff I see in regular 2D animation in modern day. Right? Like TV. Somebody show. I mean, and again, I watch like kids are growing up now with SpongeBob SquarePants. The animation, it looks like crap. And no offense to the animators, I'm sure you do. I mean, you're talented people, but from my eyes, it looks like I don't like it. Teen Titans Go. I mean, that animation to me looks horrendous. When I look at this, it's like to me, show me this, show me Thundercats. I see that animation. I'm like, all right, now we're talking. This is high top tier quality stuff. I sound like the old man yelling at the cloud now, but here's where we are. But no, I am taken back to when I was a kid, and like I said, I watched it a couple of hours before we were going to record, and it's like I'm all the more ready for Christmas now. But so yeah, it's an A for me, and right up there with Batman Returns. This is an annual rewatch for me.
This is going to be in my annual rotation now. I haven't watched it in a really long time. I'm glad we did watch it for this because I forgot how much I enjoyed it. And this is on my watch list now for sure.
Now I just got to figure out, and maybe, I mean, this is another podcast we do, but did the Ninja Turtles do any Christmas specials animation-wise? I know they did that live-action cringe-worthy nonsense.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure there must have been Christmas episodes, right?
You would think so.
I mean,
Probably.
10 seasons of a show, multiple cartoons. There had to be some. I'm going to have to do some digging for next year, for next Christmas. And maybe next Christmas we'll do some TMNT Christmas stuff. Um, but yeah, that brings this episode to a close. The holiday special for He-Man and She-Ra gets an A from the both of us. Know that in 2023, if it becomes available, Chris and I will cover. I mean, if it's out and ready to air by then, Chris and I will cover Masters of the Universe Revolution. Maybe we'll do what we did last time and have you, me, and Donnie all together for those reviews. That'll be fun. We'll also, like I said, as we talked off at the top, when there's movie news, we'll bring it to you. When there is the news of the She-Ra live action series, we'll bring it to you. I want to see who the cast is She-Ra, probably somebody that's going to be on the list, I would hope. So we'll bring that to you. But also, with the other shows Chris and I do coming up in the new year, we're going to have, of course, the new animated Ninja Turtles movie is coming. We're going to cover that. We've got more of the Armageddon game, the comic on the Ninja Turtle side that we did in issue 1. We're going to do more of the issues. We're going to continue covering that storyline. On the DC side of things, hey, we've got Shazam coming up. We've got The Flash coming up. We've got Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom coming up. We've got whatever news is going to drop about the new era of the DC universe and whatever James Gunn's going to bring. That's good. We're going to get news for that in 2023. So we're going to cover that. On the comic side of DC Comics, we talked off air. We can give the audience a little bit of a heads up. We're going to do a bit of a retro series where we talk about the John Byrne era, the Man of Steel era of comics. Chris and I are going to slowly work our way through that. But we're also going to deal with modern comics. So Chris and I talked off air. This will be split up between me and Chris and me and Donnie. But Chris and I are going to cover Batman, the Batman Monthly, the Superman Monthly. We're going to cover, I believe we said Shazam, correct?
Sure.
The Flash. And I think we said JSA. I think those were the ones you and I were going to be covering. So there's a lot to look forward to on our channel coming up in the new year. So you're going to be seeing a lot of me and Chris. I think it's going to be a good year for us, Chris, because we're going to have a lot to cover on all fronts. I think live action, we're going to get some, especially on the DC side. And that's not discounting Marvel. We're going to get Born Again, hopefully. It's going to be filming. So we get to talk about that. We're going to be doing our Daredevil rewatch. So there's going to be a lot of stuff on here. So we urge you to stick with us and be ready to enjoy all of that stuff with us on the channel. But we've had a great 2022, Chris, and looking forward to you and I being in on the ground floor for some of this stuff in 2023. It's gonna be fun because it's very rare that we haven't really a lot like the Black Adam, where we reviewed Black Adam. We didn't get a chance to cover it as much from the ground up with casting and stuff. That was already done before we covered it. But we're also going to get a chance to cover, like I said, whatever they announce from DC going forward. We're going to get to talk about casting wise. We're going to the first trailers for some of these things we're going to get to talk about. So yeah, I love covering that stuff from the ground up. So it's going to be fun to get to do that stuff with you, and of course Donnie, and there's still one more Christmas show coming up on this network. Donnie and I are going to have a discussion about Batman Returns because Donnie is a big fan of the Tim Burton, as most people are. Most intelligent most intelligent people are fans of the Tim Burton Batman movies. But so there's one more Christmas episode on the way. But for you and I, Chris, that brings 2022 to a close. Now, I will leave the caveat that if during the 2 weeks break that we're going to have, let's say a slate of DC movies is announced, you and I could probably jump on here and do an emergency episode. But usually Hollywood shuts down for the holidays.
Yep.
But if something like that happens, of course, Chris and I will make arrangements to cover in a short episode. But if that's not the case, this is the final episode of 2022 for you and I. It's been a great year, Chris. You stepped up and took on more responsibility with the show, and I appreciate you for that. And like I said, I look forward to covering more stuff with you in the coming year and years. So thank you, sir, and I wish you and the little guys a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Well, thanks, Adam. I appreciate you having me along and allowing me to do more of this stuff with you. It's fun. I have a blast with it. I love the material that we cover. It's fun to go through it, doing my homework, and it's fun to talk to you about it and to share it with everybody else. So look forward to doing a lot more of that coming up soon. And, I return your holiday greetings. Merry Christmas to you and all yours.
Thank you, sir. And to our viewers and listeners, whatever you celebrate this time of year, for those that do celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. Whatever other holiday you celebrate, Happy Holidays. I hope it's a good one. Hope it's a happy one. Hope there's lots of food and drink involved. I mean, be responsible about it. But, enjoy and be safe. And just enjoy your loved ones, whoever they may be. And we wish you well and happiness. And again, we hope to see you all back here in January, because we'll be back and we hope you'll join us. Until then, remember that He-Man and She-Ra, the Christmas special, is forever. From the first time a pair of Earth kids had to explain Santa Claus to Eternia, to the last. So long, everybody.
Bye.